What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to talk about some scenarios that we've identified in the integration world that we've pulled out of the e-commerce experience to show you where integration is falling apart, and how we can tell that is happening, and how that has an impact on your e-commerce experience. So the world of Omni-Channel is changing, and it's changing in such a way that people are trying to figure out how this B2C and how this B2B is all coming together. And the technology and the experiences are changing so quickly. And I thought that, this cartoon to me really summed it up. It's that companies out there are looking at e-commerce and are looking at the whole omni and multi experience from a technology perspective. And I think it's, you're seeing it here. People are starting to grapple with the idea that there's some marketing and there's some branding around all of this, and what kind of experience do you want to engender? But fundamentally, people are trying to plug technology together that has either been designed in a single manner as an island of technology, and like this guy here, they're trying to figure out how to put the shopping cart up on their website. What kind of experience are they going to engender with their customers? And the most fundamental aspect of this is that you have these technological islands being driven by IT and sometimes marketing. And then you have the marketing and the branding side of things. And oftentimes they don't talk to each other, or they're not integrated in a manner that allows people to look at it. What is the experience that you want to give your customer? Because you cannot determine and you cannot decide on the platforms and the integration strategies that you use to move data without understanding what kind of experience. How many of us have received emails that we think, huh? What is this? So, again, another great cartoon. Email deal, plus size dresses, deodorant, and idiots guides. All in the same thing. So, the poor lady's saying, I think my email just called me a big smelly idiot. How many of you have received emails like that? I have. Stuff that comes to me totally out of context that has nothing to do with what I'm actually experiencing or interacting with. So the most important thing I always tell our customers is to map the experience first and foremost that you want to engender with your client. What is your brand all about? And this impacts the marketing. So you're probably sitting here thinking, what does this have to do with integration, with data integration, because that's my business? Well, it's the fundamental first foundational block in building a proper integration strategy. Because if I don't know what you want to do and what you want to project out to your customer, I can't possibly look at how I want to move data within an organization, and how I want to move data between applications to provide that experience that allows people to interact with your brand in a way that is personal, that is a way that is authentic, in a way that allows them to feel that, hey, this is something I want to be involved with. And as we all know, and I go to lots of internet e-commerce conferences, everybody's talking about authenticity and the personalized experience. Let's get real about mapping the experience. I mean, this infographic is being used widely in e-commerce presentations to talk about the flow of an order. An order is an order is an order. It doesn't matter where it comes in. Whether it comes in through a bricks and mortar store that then gets passed down to a supplier for vendor dropship, or is coming off an internet site, an order is an order is an order. So what's really interesting about this particular infographic is that this is really, to me, an example of somebody and a process that have not mapped out the interactions with their customer of how they want to improve their process. So you've got your shopping cart. Your order comes off your shopping cart. The order is placed. The authorization goes out through the payment gateway. The credit card is pre-authed. You've got your order confirmation that comes back to your customer. Great. What happens next? The big guys have it figured out. As you move down that value chain, that food chain, less and less people have it figured out. And this, to me, highlights the problem. So I go along and it's going through inventory and it goes out to the fulfillment house to be picked and packed. And where are my next interactions? Down here. I get an email saying, hey, your shipment's gone. What happens in between when there's problems? Because this assumes there's never going to be any problems. The product is always in stock, it's never back ordered, there's never any shipment problems. How many of us have experienced that reality? Not many. There's no perfect world out there. So this is great to map your process out, but you have to map not only the actualities of what's going to happen, but map out the what ifs. What if something goes wrong? What am I going to tell my customer? Because if you think about e-commerce, it's a trust relationship. I can't go into a store and I can't have an interaction with the salesperson. I can't touch the product. So the onus is on me, the retailer, to provide a very high level of trust in that experience. And how do I do that? I do that in a strategic interaction with my customer. And the underlying foundation of that is how you move data between your systems and how you present that data out to your customer. So the first step is to map out the foundation. What happens in most organizations, people choose a technological platform, they go to their IT guys and they say, can you make this talk to my ERP package? Or can we figure out how to integrate this to my marketing automation? I'm using Pardot, or I'm using Marketo, or maybe HubSpot. And what happens is the IT guys say, well, this week I mapped out our applications, their domain, defined the interface, applications, and our software environment. And the marketing guys are going, what? The stuff I'm doing is way up here. It's called the integration layer. And it's perfect because what you have is you have two ships, two sides of the business that are not talking to each other, that are not interacting. And often what happens is marketing goes off and does something because IT is a pain in the butt, and IT gets wind of it, and now you have conflicts. So this is why the mapping of that experience is so important, because you engage the parties in the process. This is even more important when you start to scale. So what happens when you start to scale? Well, things break down. You get increased order volumes. Your systems are not designed to handle it, either because you hired some custom guy to build a point-to-point integration with custom code. You don't have audit trails in there. That integration can't handle the volume. It falls down. Our computers are down. We're doing things manually today. Well, you can't keep up with your order volume. Amazon in the UK, this is an interesting stat. Amazon in the UK handles 35 orders a second at Christmas time. Could you imagine trying to do that with DIY code? Or could you imagine trying to do that if you hadn't thought your systems out? It would be impossible. So we often see e-tailers and people coming to us because they've gone that route where they bought technology, they plugged it all together, the product takes off, and now their whole business is falling apart. They can't keep up, they're irritated customers, and they're having to now revamp and think the processes through, because it's starting to affect their brand. I'm going to give you two stories. These are real stories. I'm going to talk about the Aran Sweater Market. The Aran Sweater Market is on the Aran Islands in Ireland. They make fantastic sweaters, and I've got one here actually. This is my own experience, and I've ordered twice off of them. And then I'm going to talk about Walmart, because we have a story around Walmart. So it doesn't matter how big you are, if you don't map your process out, and you don't have your supply chain mapped out at the back, your integrations, if they're not done properly, are going to fall apart. So let me tell you about the Aran Sweater Market. The Aran Sweater Market is on the Aran Islands in Ireland. It's a remote, they're out in the North Atlantic. And this company specializes in traditional wool sweaters. Fantastic quality, beautifully made. They have shops all over Ireland. They have a shop in the duty-free store at Shannon Airport. And they have a phenomenal online presence. If you go to their website, it's slick. It's built on OpenCart, which is an open source platform. Their whole brand presentation is authentic. It speaks to you about tradition. It speaks to you about quality. And that's fantastic. So I place an order on their shopping cart. I immediately get the confirmation back, excuse me, talking about my order. Everything is perfect in the order email that comes back, and then I hear nothing. I hear nothing. It's a busy time of year. It was just before Thanksgiving last year that I ordered these sweaters. And they have a really neat feature on their website. This is part of building that trust relationship, is where they have a pop-up where I can actually interact with a customer service person. Because when you send an email, 80% of the time they don't go answer. So they've gone the extra step. They have a little interactive. So I go online. A week later, I hadn't heard anything about my shipment. I'd read reviews on the web about how great their customer service was, and their delivery was super prompt. They used DHL. And I go online and I ask the customer service rep to check into my order. She says, just a moment. I'm talking to a real person, by the way. She says, just a moment. She says to me, your order came in missing a size and a color for one of the items that you ordered. Now that's kind of weird. Everything in my order looked absolutely perfect. So why would something come in missing a size and color? Manual data entry. There's no integration between their shopping cart and their in-house order management or their inventory platforms. So somebody took that order, it was integrated to a piece of paper, and they sat there and they did this. And somebody made a mistake. One of the items I'd ordered was back ordered. So a week later, I go back, I still hadn't heard anything. I go back online and I said, okay, what's going on with this order? Well, one item is back ordered. Okay, can you cancel that item and ship me what is in stock? Yes, we can do that. A week later, so 3 weeks now after I placed my original order, I get my shipment through DHL. And what's wrong in the DHL waybill that arrives at my door? My phone number is wrong. So there's another example of somebody manually entering data into the systems. So I ordered again to get the back-ordered item. And this time it was a single item, but I had it shipped not to my home, I had it shipped to my office. And the information that I entered was my office information. And again, the information that was on the DHL waybill was incorrect. So there were three things that came out of that. Although they have a very slick technological front end, they have no integration between the applications internally. What does that engender with the customer experience, the trust relationship? I reached out to the managing director of Aran Sweater, very nice guy, and said, hey, we're doing a case study on you guys, this is what we found. He had his IT guy contact me. We went through the scenario, and he said, yeah, we need help in this area. He had no idea, excuse me, that my order, my second order was delayed by 4 days because of the data entry errors. So unless he had gone back to DHL and asked the question about late shipments, they would never have known. So you put that in context of that whole customer experience, and what kind of trust, what does that do for your brand? So this is where thinking through those processes allows you to build that foundation at a lower level. Then now I can say, okay, do I have the right technology? Does it have an API? Can I move data efficiently? Can I move data throughout the process to give my customer that trusted experience and establish the trust that they say, hey, I want to order from you again. And I'm going to tell all my friends that this is a fantastic company. These guys are good. They were responsive. I'll give them that. And their products are phenomenal. I would order from them again. But they can't scale without integration between their processes and their systems. And I think this is what they're facing right now, because they haven't stepped back and they haven't done that. Walmart.com and Walmart.ca use an order management platform on the back end called Commerce Hub. It's owned by UPS. And it's a vendor dropship model, which for those of you who are in supply chain know that Walmart doesn't stock the product. They send an order out to the supplier to have that product shipped to you, the consumer. So in this case, we ordered off of Walmart.com's website, or actually Walmart.ca, the red Coleman cooler that you see in the center. Amazing online specials while supplies last. So this is another true experience. This is one of the people in our office that ordered this product online, went through the whole process, got the order confirmation from Walmart saying, hey, your order's there, we're looking after it, we'll notify you as soon as it's shipped. 16 days later, they hadn't heard. And they got an email saying, we're canceling your order. No explanation. 16 days. So if you think about the back-end process, Walmart, I placed that order on Walmart.com. It goes to Commerce Hub. Commerce sends it out as an EDI message to Coleman. Coleman's IT is probably not in Canada, it's probably in the US. Part of the Commerce Hub scenario is that I confirm that order and I give them a shipping notice that I've shipped, but I also provide a daily inventory feed. So where the integration fell down was probably here with Coleman not being able to provide the daily inventory feed to Walmart that was required. And again, this is a combination of poor management, poor design of the flow of the interaction of that trust. Now, Walmart's got brand recognition, people are going to give them some slack. They move down that food chain, they're going to get far less slack in terms of that trust relationship. But in this case, 16 days went by with zero communication to the customer. What does that do for your brand? What does that do for the trust that your customer has in you as a retailer? And then to have out of the blue an email saying we're canceling your order without any explanation. To me, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't give me a warm fuzzy that I would really want to shop at Walmart the next time around. Thankfully, this person was able to find it at a little higher price on Amazon.ca, and Amazon, they were great. Yeah, we got your product, here's the confirmation, here's your shipping information, and guess what? Here's your tracking information. And it was at your doorstep. So, it's very important to allow people to, if you're venturing down this path, map that experience. What does your brand represent? And I'm not a marketing person, but what does that brand represent? What's the trust that you want to engender with your customer? And then what is the implications of that on your technology? A lot of people will look at technology and say, oh wow, this is really cool, I gotta have this. Without thinking about how it's all gonna fit together. That's always an afterthought. It's a critical component of the strategy design, of looking at how data flows between the technological pieces and what it represents and what it talks to in terms of your organization and what you want to project out. We've been in the integration world for 21 years. We started as a company in Canada that did EDI integration. EDI is the granddaddy of e-commerce integration, of e-commerce messaging. All the major retailers use EDI to communicate with their suppliers. And we've been integrating applications across multiple verticals in the retail, the grocery, and as well as the logistics space for that long. So we understand how supply chain works. Multiple vertical experience. We've probably, over the years, done about 40 different applications. We've seen some really ugly integrations. We've seen some good ones. And thank God today, as the internet explodes and APIs become more prevalent in applications, we're seeing APIs that are well thought out and well designed, and they're far easier to integrate than they were 5 years ago. We're thought leaders in integration. We launched a 7-question series in logistics and e-commerce. We've got an ebook coming out, which is like a 50-page ebook on logistics integration. We've gone out and we've interviewed subject matter experts. We're just doing the e-commerce one, and we just launched a data one as well. Because one of the things that companies are grappling with in this world that we're in today is data. There's so much data out there. What do you do with that data? Do you have the systems to use it? How do you move data between all of these organizations? This is a natural part of that brand definition. We've done many interviews and webinars for Flextronics and the high-tech electronics. We were part of the SAP influencer network in terms of integration strategies. I experimented many years ago with a thing called Integration TV, where we interviewed, it was a little marketing exercise where we played around with content and subject matter experts. It's still up there. We haven't done an interview for some time. But we're very passionate about data, and we're very passionate about how things get integrated properly. The bane of our existence is to see companies struggle with IT departments who don't know what they're talking about when it comes to integration, but who think they do, and DIY programmers who have tunnel vision as to what integration should be, as opposed to stepping back, mapping out your experience, and looking at the technology intrinsically as something that you work with, as opposed to something that I have to fit into my space. No, it's a very valid question. Basically, what you're seeing today is you're seeing a maturation process that's going on in e-commerce. A few years ago, when in fact the first commercial e-commerce platform, the hosted e-commerce platform, was only released in 2015. So it's a very new phenomenon. And that's not to say that there weren't e-commerce platforms before that. There were, but they were very primitive. What that hosted environment, and that's coupled with the explosion of the internet, the cloud, and the ability to roll things up cheaply and have all of those hooks. What has happened is that people have developed plugins. A plugin is basically a simplified point-to-point integration. That's all it is. So people say, okay, I'm going to put a plug-in for this. Let's say I want to go from Shopify to my ERP. So somebody builds a limited plug-in. It's a one-way. It doesn't do anything else. Maybe it does a little bit in the back, but that's another thing. They're putting you into a box that is the lowest common denominator. So what's happening is people want to enhance that user experience. They want to scale that platform up. Now all of a sudden these things start to fall apart. I'll give you an example. We have a customer that came to us. He's got 3 warehouses. One in Canada, one in the US, one in the UK, using a point-to-point plug-in for each one of them. The plugins were fighting each other over who was pulling the orders. So all the orders were being pulled down in Canada, and when the US warehouse went to come and pull the orders, there weren't any orders to pull down. So what we've done for them is we pull down the orders and then we separate the orders out based on the criteria. Some of it is geography, some of the product mix in the order, and we funnel that data in. And this is where, as e-commerce starts to scale, this is where you have to think. And this is where the importance of those APIs and the back end of those platforms becomes so critical, because they allow you now to just pull that data and then scale it out. So that's not to say that the one-to-one plugins don't have the functionality. They do. We use them on our website, but I think it's very important that people think of them not as a panacea, but as a very specific. There's companies like It Does It and Zapier that offer point-to-point, really, really simple things. I want to build these 6 fields from Salesforce over to here. That's all they do. That may work for somebody, but this is where mapping your experience, what you want to project out, is so critical, because it may not. That may not work because of the way you want to use the information. I think this is what a lot of companies are grappling with when it comes to this technology. People aren't stepping back and they're not doing that. They're saying, oh, well, this is what I want to do. You know, there was another cartoon I found that I was going to put up, but I couldn't get the resolution on it right, and it was these these guys sitting around a big board table. They had a meeting going on. They said, we're going to be in the digital world. And they had the different departments, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And the boss says, so what are we doing? And they all said, well, we don't really know. And that's what it feels like today. People are experimenting, they're trying things, they're not stepping back and thinking about what they actually represent. So, you know, I think eventually you're going to see that as APIs become more robust, if you have transition going on an API, I mean, if you think of APIs, you've got SOAP-based APIs, which are the original 2000 original definitions of APIs, and now you've got RESTful APIs, which are the biggest REST API in the world is the internet, because it allows you to plug anything in. And this is where that technology is going. It's getting ever more sophisticated. And what REST does, it allows you to access and interact with